Brody again. Brody blocks the suplex. Once more, Flair foiled as he tries to use the suplex on King Kong Brody, and that would have been devastating if he could have done it there. Whoa, he misses a punch, and Brody fights back. Brody furiously pounding on Ric Flair. Brody on Flair. Flair staggered, throws a wild punch. Both men back off a bit, and then a kick from Brody pushes Flair back into the corner. Not pretty, it's not pretty, it's vicious. It's sometimes crude, always rough, but it's vicious because the World Heavyweight Championship is at stake. King Kong Brody twisting the face of Flair as he mounted the rope so he could pound on Flair. Brody stumbled down. Flair may have landed a chop to the stomach as Brody was up there on the ropes. Flair grabbing Brody's hair, going for the suplex, going for the suplex. Oh, he got him up. He got him up. Ric Flair finally delivered the suplex to King Kong Brody. This could be it. The falls could be even. Count of 1, 2, and oh, Brody kicks free. After all the times that Ric Flair tried with that suplex and couldn't do it, finally he electrifies the Checkerdome crowd by delivering the suplex to King Kong Brody, and Brody is shaken. Brody is shaken. That was nearly the evening fall. He came within a quarter of a count of making it one fall apiece. Elbow drop by Flair, trying for the pin. Count of 2, count of, and Brody kicks out again. King Kong Brody hurt after Flair delivered the suplex. Flair going behind him, pulling the hair back. What does Flair have in mind? Going for the abdominal stretch. The abdominal stretch on King Kong Brody. Not an easy hold to get on somebody like Brody because of the strength, the length of his body. Once upon a time, back in the 50s and 60s, this was a killer submission hold for a gentleman by the name of Wilbur Snyder, who ought to be in the Hall of Fame of Wrestling if he isn't. Wilbur Snyder popularized the abdominal stretch. By now, a lot of people knew that flexibility was a key, and certainly Brody was one of the first big men to realize it. And that's why the abdominal stretch here is not getting a submission, because Brody worked constantly on flexibility, just as Flair did. Flair perhaps not realizing how much effort Brody put into that, and the abdominal stretch perhaps not as effective as Flair thought it would be on King Kong Brody. He thought Brody was hurting after that suplex, and he probably still is, and this puts pressure in the same place as the suplex rattled. But now the abdominal stretch, he can't get the submission. He can't get the submission from King Kong Brody. Lee Warren's right there to check it. Brody, what's he doing? Is he trying to move out of it? Yeah, he's getting that top arm free. Brody moving behind Flair, and he has the opposite arm of Flair. Oh, what do we have here? It's Brody reversing the abdominal stretch under Ric Flair. Ric Flair now, he's the one trapped in the abdominal stretch by King Kong Brody. It's not exactly textbook by Brody, but it's an abdominal stretch, and he's twisting Flair pretty successfsuplex. Not enough to get a submission, not quite. He can't quite get underneath him, but from Brody's standpoint, what he's done, he's escaped the suplex that nearly pinned him. He's escaped the abdominal stretch that caused him trouble. He's dodged a bullet, and he's still up 1-0 over Ric Flair. 2 falls out of 3 for the World Heavyweight Championship. Both men starting to feel the effects of this match now. We're nearly at 40 minutes into the match. Think of the energy, think of the conditioning that's being tested here between Flair and Brody. Flair getting right on top of him. Flair's had his best success when he stayed on top of him, and Brody couldn't use his longer arms and his longer legs and couldn't unleash all of his violence onto Ric Flair. Brody pushed into the corner by Flair. Flair strangling Brody. Making no bones about it, he's willing to work the count of 5 before disqualification. He breaks at 4. 5 would be a disqualification. Lee Warren and Ric Flair toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose. Flair on top of Brody, grabbing him by the throat again. He's going to work that count as far as he can. Warren trying to break him up because now Brody's strangling Flair. Both men strangling each other. You talk about going for everything you can. Oh, hanging him high by King Kong Brody. Shades of Big Bill Miller right there as he lifted Flair by the throat and flung him across the ring like a sack of potatoes. Flair made the mistake of going into the power matchup with Brody, and that never worked. Big forearm smashes right onto the chest of Flair. Quick try for a pin by Brody, but Flair, hey, he was down for 2. You never know. You never know. Flair trying to come to his feet, frustrated surely at this point, because when he got that suplex, he had to think, oh, this is it. I have it. Brody going for the pile driver. Brody looking for the pile driver. Flair trying to scoot to the ropes and get away. Oh, yes, Flair knew one thing he didn't want there was to have his head driven into that Checker Dome mat. That could have been curtains for Ric Flair and his reign as World Heavyweight Champion. Again, toe-to-toe, Flair and Brody, Flair and Brody. Brody pushing Flair towards the ropes, trying to use his power on him, whipping him across the ring. Oh, Flair nearly catapulted over the top rope, hung out to dry like Monday morning's wash. Ric Flair upside down, hanging in the corner, vulnerable for Brody, driving both forearms right into the ribs of Ric Flair. Oh, now it's Flair. Flair in deep trouble, down one fall to none. He can't lose this fall. And Brody's going to try to punish Flair, and Flair is going to try to hang onto those ropes and stay in that corner. The last place Ric Flair wants to be right now is in the middle of the ring, where he can't get to the ropes to break a potential count of 3. Brody bringing Flair up. You can see the match taking its toll on both men now. We're well at the 40-minute mark. Elbow smash to the head of Ric Flair. Look how good of a ring general Flair is, though, as he tried to stay by the ropes, but now Brody realized it cuts him off from the ropes, and Flair is forced to back up into the middle of the ring. Not where he wanted to be. Not where Ric Flair wanted to be, as Brody bangs on the head. Brody with another smash to the head of Ric Flair. Flair taking his lumps at the hands of King Kong Brody. Flair, oh, can he come up? And Brody's got to be thinking right now, if I could land one more big knee, that gold belt's going around my waist. Flair, groggy, throws a wild punch that misses again. He's knocked in the corner, jumps out of the ring, just simply going for the eyes of Brody. Desperation right there by the World Heavyweight Championship, trying to keep his reign alive. Brody lifting Flair, one more big body slam, throwing him far away from his body. How many body slams has Flair taken in this match? 6, 7, 8? Think they don't take a call? The big knee drop, he misses! Brody missing the knee drop. Flair having enough attention to roll away, and Brody misses the knee drop. How often did you ever see that? Brody was so good at sensing when his opponent was vulnerable for that knee drop. He was wrong there. He was wrong because Ric Flair was able to pull a rabbit out of the hat and get away from the flying knee drop of King Kong Brody. Brody, now he's the one in real trouble. How often did he miss that? And that knee has to be aching, throbbing. And it came down, and Flair goes right to the attack. Ric Flair viciously going after King Kong Brody. Brody by the ropes. He could buy some time outside the ring now. Look at him hobbling on that leg, stretching out, trying to stretch out the cramps in the hamstring of the quadriceps. That hurt Brody as much as the guy underneath it would have been crushed. Brody grabbed by the hair, pulled to the apron by Ric Flair. Oh, into the turnbuckle by Ric Flair. Again, Flair slamming the head into the turnbuckle. Two things have been proven here so far. Number one, Brody was able to withstand a good scientific wrestler and still hang in there. He hasn't lost a fall. He's up one fall to none, and Ric Flair has proven beyond any shadow of a doubt he's one tough cookie. Flair standing with Brody. Flair and Brody again. Maybe the 5th or 6th time in this match. Flair and Brody toe-to-toe, battling it out. Neither man willing to give an inch, but it's Brody taking command with big forearms and punches. Flair leaned into the ropes. An uppercut by Brody, and Flair knocked clear over the top rope and down to the floor. An uppercut by Brody. Almost that European-style uppercut that Dory Funk Jr. used to use. Brody going out after Flair. Flair trips Brody. Flair and Brody outside the ring. Flair and Brody on the floor of the Checker Dome. A chop to the throat. Flair and Brody battling once more. Neither man willing to give an inch. Flair crawling to the apron. The referee making the count on both men. It's 20 because they're on the floor. A count of 20 on both Flair and Brody. They're up on the apron. Flair and Brody, the count's still going on. Flair lands a chop. Brody lands a punch. They're trading blows back and forth. Flair pounding on Brody. Brody ducks beneath Flair, backdrops him to get away from him. Tumbles off the apron. The referee making the count. He's calling for the bell. When did he get to 20? Obviously, when Brody was still outside the ring and Flair had been catapulted inside the ring. Let's get that official announcement as Lee Warren explains to me exactly why he did what he did.
22 minutes and 40 seconds, at the count of 18, Ric Flair was back in the ring, but King Kong Brody was still outside at the count of 20. Therefore, Brody is counted out outside the ring, and the winner of the second fall is Ric Flair.
Ric Flair has evened the match at 1 fall apiece. 1 fall apiece, almost a fluke. A mistake, I guess some could say, but as they furiously battled on the apron, Brody did what was logical. He ducked underneath and flipped the man up into the air. King Kong Brody realizing now it was a mistake, but not a mistake that he really made. It's one of those things that happen when you have a showdown between two of the greatest athletes, two of the greatest competitors in the history of the business. That time it worked in Ric Flair's advantage. Ric Flair wins the second fall as Brody is counted out outside the ring. 1 fall apiece. 1 fall apiece. Brody knows what he has to do. He needs to win this fall to become the World Heavyweight Champion. He needs this fall. Flair, he'd like a win. He'd like a pin. But he's settled for staying alive, too, because he still have the gold belt. He takes a few more of those forearms in the head, though. He won't be staying anywhere except in an ambulance on a ride to the hospital. Brody, with his boot underneath the jaw, digging on Ric Flair, the world champion. Flair, soaked, exhausted, but he was able to come up with that big fall that he desperately needed to tie this match at 1 fall apiece. Brody again, trying to punish the windpipe of Ric Flair. Flair, gasping, but he's still staying by the ropes. Brody wants to get him out of that corner, but he wants to punish him too. King Kong Brody in that position now where you want to do 20 different things at the same time. You want to slam him, you want to pull him, you want to punch him, you want to kick him, you want to get him in the middle, you want to strangle him over the ropes. The hardest part now is controlling yourself mentally, emotionally. That crowd screaming, wanting more, wanting to see the title change. It's funny. Even when the world champion was a popular figure, in the days of a Luthez, of a Pat O'Connor, of a Dory Funk Jr., there came a time when everybody wants to see that title change. It didn't happen very often back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Not like today where it happens every other week. So it meant something. It meant something. Dory Funk Jr. had a 4.5-year reign as the World Heavyweight Champion. Harley Race had a 4-year reign as the World Heavyweight Champion. Jack Briscoe had the title over 2 years. It meant something when the belt changed hands. And St. Louis, over the years, was blessed by seeing many title changes. I guess the last 2 before that were Kiniski over Thez, and then in 1959, Pat O'Connor over Dick Hutton. Flair pitches Brody to the ropes. Flying tackle. Good bounce there. Here comes Brody again. Flair looking for the sleeper hold, something he never was really known for, but something he knew the rudiments of, the basics of. Anything right now to slow down Brody, to eat up some time. That's what Ric Flair wanted. He squeezes with the sleeper hold. He squeezes with the sleeper hold. If he can get the right leverage and put Brody out, all the better. But this has a twofold purpose for a cagey ring general like Ric Flair. Flair with that sleeper, trying to take away from the clock, trying to take away from what's left of the energy of King Kong Brody. After this match, Brody told me, he told me it was 3 days till he felt like a human being. He says every muscle hurt the next morning. He says, and I know Flair felt the same way. And Lee Warren said, I lost close to 10 pounds sweating in that ring, jumping up and down, belly down, trying to count, trying to stay on top of the action, and trying not to get trampled by these two guys. Brody leaning forward. Look how Flair, look where that shoulder is. pushing into the head, pushing the chin down. Once again, we talk about the subtle little movements in wrestling, trying to take the ability to breathe away from your opponent. Ric Flair is doing that without a strangle. The real pressure is on the side of the neck, just where a sleeper hold should be, trying to cut the blood flow off. Of course, Brody's neck was about as big as a telephone pole, so that's not the easiest thing to do. Flair with the sleeper hold. Brody still very much in it, but feeling some of the effects. Trying to keep the blood flow right there, just moving his hands, moving his arms, trying to keep alive, knowing he has to break out of this. He needs this fall. He needs this fall, and there's one way to do it. He ran towards the corner and rammed Flair right into the top turnbuckle. Flair hung on to the last second when he realized that the superior weight of Brody was pulling him towards the corner. It was almost too late to move, but he still has the advantage. Flying mare by Ric Flair, staggers to the corner, goes for an elbow drop that misses. The elbow drop misses by Flair. Is this Brody's opening? Flair coming up quickly, though. Misses with a roundhouse, and then it's Brody trying to squeeze the head of Flair. I don't know how much Brody knew about the sleeper hold, but he knew if you squeeze a man's blood supply to his brain, you might be able to make him pass out. And basically, he's just squeezing the neck as hard as he can right there. It's brutish, it's powerful, but it's effective as Brody squeezes the neck of Ric Flair, and Flair goes down to one knee. Maybe he can get on top of him. Maybe he can wear him down. You look back at some of the great title matches over history, sometimes they ended on very quick pins on things that people would never have expected. Just very simple things, body press, if they could catch the right leverage and catch the right moment. Now you're looking at a match that's gone 50 minutes, well over 50 minutes they've been in that ring. Let me tell you, nobody's ready to go out dancing right now. Brody on top of him, trying to push the shoulders down, and Ric Flair. So smart. Saw that rope there, let Brody feel good about it, and then Ric Flair drops his boot on the bottom rope, and Lee Warren has to call for a break. Brody rolls away from Flair. If they respected each other before they were in the ring against each other, how much respect do you think they had for each other after they knocked heads for almost an hour? Ric Flair and King Kong Brody. Flair trying to get his win back. Brody trying to make that brain click, click, click. What can I do? What can I do to break this man? What can I do to knock him off the throne? Again, basic hard wrestling. Body slam. One more time, trying to wear Flair down. Lining him up. Oh, going for the leg drop, the guillotine leg drop rather than the big knee drop. That probably says something right there that Brody didn't go for the knee drop. He went for the guillotine leg drop. Flair goes for the figure four. Flair going for the figure four leg lock on King Kong Brody because he realized when Brody didn't go for the knee drop, that meant his knee was hurting. He's vulnerable, and Ric Flair knew it. Flair right to the figure four leg lock. When Brody didn't go for the flying knee drop, Ric Flair, so smart, he realized that King Kong Brody's knee was vulnerable, and here's Flair with the figure four leg lock. Can he get a submission out of King Kong Brody? Can he put enough pain to make Brody lean back? Maybe let his shoulders inadvertently fall on the mat for a 3 count. Flair stretching, straining, trying to do everything he can to the ligaments, the meniscus, and King Kong Brody's knee, but now Brody trying to roll Flair over. Brody trying to reverse it. King Kong Brody reversing the figure four leg lock. Can he take it over? Yes, and puts the pressure on Ric Flair. The pressure on Flair as Brody puts all that pressure into the leg of Ric Flair before Flair pops out of the hold, and now both men a little gimpy after the figure four leg lock. Reversed and in its original position has taken a toll on both Flair and Brody. Flair coming up on top of Brody and begins pounding on the head of King Kong Brody. Brody says, I can play that game better than any man alive. King Kong Brody on his feet, raining forearms down on the head of Flair, going for the pile driver. He couldn't get it before. Can he get the pile driver on Ric Flair this time? Yes, he's got him in the air. Look out below as Brody with the pile driver. Oh, ramming the neck and head of Flair into the mat, making sure he had all the leverage in the world as he tried to knock Flair's head right down into his shoulders. This could be it. The count of 1, count of 2, and no. Flair with his boot across the bottom rope. Brody sees it. He knows it. It was a good call. Here he finally got that pile driver, which he tried once earlier in the match, and Flair was able to scoot to the ropes. Elbow drop. Not something you often saw from Brody, but it's desperation time now. Desperation time now, and Brody taking any chance he can. Throwing that elbow and missing. Both men having trouble coming to their feet, trying to find a way. Flair with a chop. Arm whip, Brody to the ropes. Ducks, comes off, big boot right to the face of Ric Flair. Brody coming off with that signature big kick to the face. Another kick right to the solar plexus by Brody. Brody whipping him to the ropes. Another boot to the head. And Flair is down. Is he down for the count? Look at him fight. Look at him struggle to come back up after all that punishment from King Kong Brody. One more body slam. No, a backbreaker. A backbreaker. Shades of Gene Kiniski. The backbreaker. Beautifully delivered by Brody. Not even realizing where he is now. Now they're close to the ropes. Flair didn't know he was that close either, and he kicked out, not knowing he could have taken the easy way out. There's no room for error here. Flair looking maybe he could come down from the top on Brody, who came to his feet slowly, but Brody's there waiting. Brody's there waiting with Flair. Sailing through the sky inside the Checker Dome, it's Ric Flair. Compliments of King Kong Brody. Big forearm to the face. Brody leery of going for that knee drop. Think back to that missed knee drop earlier and what a key part of the match that was. Brody obviously had hurt his knee, and he was leery of going for the giant knee drop anymore, especially after the figure four leg lock. Flair was able to take one of the signature moves away from King Kong Brody. Brody going for the suplex on Flair. Time running out. Brody going for the suplex. He has him up in the air. Drives him down. Drives him down with the suplex. Going for the pin. Can he get there? Can he get there? No, the referee, the bell has sounded. The bell has sounded. 1 hour has expired as Flair and Brody went at each other, hammer and tong, and here it is.
The 1 hour time limit expired with each man having won a fall. The match between King Kong Brody and Ric Flair is a draw. And Ric Flair retains the World Heavyweight title.
Ric Flair, still the champion. The gold belt going back to Flair on the night of that classic battle, Flair versus Brody. From Gorgeous George against Wild Bill Longson in 1950 to Ric Flair against King Kong Brody in 1983, St. Louis wrestling has always been something special. It has indeed been classic, but you already know that because you've been enjoying the volumes of classic St. Louis wrestling, each and every one with something special, something you might remember for a lifetime. We're still digging, seeing if we can come up with more action, but right now let's enjoy what we have. It's been fun, and this special edition of classic St. Louis wrestling will be remembered for a long time. Thanks for watching.
Brody has always been something of a loner in the wrestling business, and that's why really I was a bit surprised that you agreed to take part in this tag match today on Wrestling at the Chase.
Surprised? You act like everybody else around here surprised about nothing. Let me tell you something. I want to make my point real clear. It's always been the same. King Kong Brody is for one thing and one thing only, and that's himself. I don't need no help from Ken Pantera. I don't need help from Dickie Murdoch. I don't need help from nobody. And if Sam Muchnick wants to keep forcing me into a tag match, I'm going to warn him too that sooner or later something's going to happen that you ain't going to have no control over, Muchnick. And in the end, a lot of your top wrestlers are going to pay for it. I'm telling you and everybody else out there, I like being alone. I don't need friends, and I don't need nobody out there telling me what to do. And the next time I end up in a tag match and anybody lays one single hand on me, they're going to pay for it. That goes for Pantera, Murdoch, or anybody else. I want to be left alone, and I don't want no one else to get close to me at no time.
I know just a few weeks ago now you had complained that you thought some promoters in wrestling were trying to protect certain wrestlers from you, that they were afraid they might be hurt, and you complained quite violently and quite loudly that there was a protection racket going on, really, for people like the Von Erichs, for Bruiser, for Race, for Flair.
Let me tell you something. Since I've been coming to St. Louis, I've wrestled every man they brought in here and beat every man. I've wrestled the Funks. I've wrestled the Briscoes. I've wrestled Race. I even beat the Giant at his own game. I beat him right in the middle of the ring in a battle royal. I've beat every man they put me in the ring with. And you know, and the people know, and I know, that there's not one man that comes to St. Louis to wrestle at this time, or not one man in the whole country that is big enough, that's got big enough pants, that he can come out here and put me on my back. And that includes your world champion. Not my world champion, your world champion.
Of course, the only time you have been pinned in St. Louis was by Harley Race.
Cut out the nonsense. Let's get it straight right now. When I wrestled Harley Race, the referee caused me to get beat, and everybody in the building saw it, and everybody knows it. I am rightfully the owner of that belt. You call him the world champion, and they can call him the world champion. I'm calling him a whipping board for King Kong Brody, because I'm going to whip his butt just like I've whipped everybody else I've set foot in this ring with.
And I guess that challenge that you made some time back, that you'll take on any two opponents at one time, still goes.
Nobody's ever come out here and wrestling at the Chase and beat two men as easy as I beat them. I've been wrestling two men my whole life, and it doesn't matter. You don't see me crying. You don't see me down on my knees begging about it. I go in there and take care of business, and business for me and me only, and that's the way I want it to stay.
King Kong Brody making it very clear he doesn't care for tag matches. He's his own tag team. And who are we to argue? We'll be back with more right after this. King Kong Brody has held his own against almost every opponent, but he finally found one he couldn't lick, and that was Mother Nature when you were trapped in Texas and couldn't make it to St. Louis for a big team match where you'd been scheduled with Ric Flair against Andre the Giant and Rocky Johnson. I know you were very frustrated that evening when you couldn't make it to St. Louis.
You know, there's a lot of controversy about Bruiser Brody, King Kong Brody, not showing up against Andre the Giant. Larry, I don't have to tell you, and I don't have to tell all the people here in the Midwest, that King Kong Brody is not afraid to get in the ring with any man or two men in professional wrestling. The people here in this area have seen my ability in the ring. I don't have to come out here and be bragging and boasting and telling everybody that I am the best wrestler here or I am the toughest. They got their own opinion, and I know all of them, as intelligent wrestling fans, know that I am the best man, and that includes the Giant.
Now, I know one thing that's been getting under your skin is that Dick Murdoch's been bragging about how he had to replace you and how he won the match for his team. I understand there's a little bad blood even between you and Murdoch.
Let me tell you something. Dickie Murdoch can come out here and be yelling at the people over here and telling everybody that he's going to beat the Giant. You know, and I know, and everybody else knows, the Giant is undefeated. Nobody beats the Giant. But you know, as well as I know, that the Giant is living a very, very dangerous life. He has been in the ring with me before, and he knows that he's going to have to get in the ring with me again. He got a breather, let's call it a breather, a buy on time. He's got Dickie Murdoch in the ring, which I know makes Andre the Giant and his manager very, very happy. If anybody was sad the other night, it was me. If anybody was happy the other night, it was Andre the Giant and his manager, because King Kong Brody did not show up. Now, I don't have to come out here and tell you that since I've been coming to St. Louis, I have defeated 3 former world champions. I am the man who beat Pat O'Connor in the middle of the ring. I am the man who beat Jack Briscoe, one of the greatest champions of all time. I am the man who ran Terry Funk completely out of town. Now, that's 3 former world champions. What makes you think, or anybody else think, that I might be scared of any man in professional wrestling? Anybody who thinks that is completely loco.
I know one thing, despite all the arguments about Andre and the controversy about Murdoch, your ultimate goal is still that gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I'm going to issue a challenge right now. The winner of the match between Dickie Big Mouth Murdoch and Andre the Giant has me to look forward to. Now, let me tell you something. Big does not make you great. Big does not make you strong. Andre the Giant is the biggest man in the world. That does not make him great. That does not make him strong. He must prove himself to me. And when he gets in the ring with me, he'll fall like all the other world champions did. My goal when I came here was to get a chance at the world champion, and I'm not leaving until I take the gold with me.
King Kong Brody.